Let's kick this thing off. Good morning from Paradise Surfers. My name is Crypto Amaru, joined as always by Nick, the Crypto Hitman, and it is Monday, February 2nd, the Monday after the big crash. I hope you guys are doing okay. That was brutal, ladies and gentlemen, a brutal crash over the weekend. We seem to be bouncing here, now recovered from 75K to 79. Let's see if we can break 80,000 here. And did that $75,000 mark the bottom for 2026? That's the big question on my mind. I think on many other people's minds. Or were the four-year cyclists right, and we are now entering the crypto winter? We've been in the crypto winter, and we're heading towards $40,000 Bitcoin. Let's see how this all plays out, folks. But it was a tough weekend. I was battered and bruised physically and emotionally with my bags. How are you holding up there, Nick? Let's take an emotional wellness check first.
Well, at least, these brutal dumps have been happening on the weekend when hopefully you're out touching grass, touching snow, doing something else, so it doesn't affect you as much. When it happens during the normal work week, if you're in the cubicle, the office, or grinding away, and then you look at your portfolio and it's red, I think that's a lot more painful than at least, this weekend I went skating, ice skating for the first time probably since Colin Beneke's grade school birthday party. I'm not going to say I'm the greatest. I'm definitely a bender, but I didn't fall, which is nice to see. I think the biggest anxiety I had with the ice skating was there's so many other kids and people around. And it's like in my head, I'm like, I'm not that good. I can't really stop. If I fall, can these kids stop? Probably not. That's my biggest anxiety. It's like, we need Bitcoin to go to the moon so I can just rent out the whole ice skating rink so I can kind of find my footing and not have to worry about getting ran over by some little kids.
There you go. That is the reason we need Bitcoin to go to the moon, so Nick does not run into a little kid and murder him while ice skating. That's a great reason. I mean, we need there's a lot of reasons why we need Bitcoin to go up, but that's a pretty damn good one. Keep the kids alive. Keep the kids alive. But yeah, I wasn't checking my portfolio, because I'm busy on the weekends for the most part. But the problem is, I got like notifications that pop up. I guess from Coinbase, I don't know. I gotta turn notifications off, I guess. But it's not like every 20 Bitcoin this, down another 4%, not 5%. Good Lord. It's interesting because no one can give, I think, a definitive reason for the crash for this weekend. I mean, there was a lot of speculation. You hear stories, okay, was it Iran? Was it government shutdown? Was it Trump? Was it this? Was it that? I think I just have a little simpler of an explanation. Just low liquidity weekend, easy to manipulate, price up or down. Yes, I know there's kind of a lack of direction in the market right now, and there's a lot of fear out there, and I'm sure there are some macro headwinds and such, but this just felt like a kind of a liquidity-based crash. What did you make of the crash? Like, did you attribute it to something, or just one of those things?
The reason it's kind of odd is I think it's really just low liquidity, but you had people willing to step in. We'll talk about a lot of the stories. I'll pull them up. Thomas Lee just bought more Ethereum. Michael Saylor bought more Bitcoin. Binance deployed 100 million out of the billion that it promised to deploy. A market maker, I think it was Wintermute, was on a live podcast saying that they think the worst of this Bitcoin bear market is over and the cycle is going to continue upward. So that means that Wintermute is deploying funds as well. It's kind of wild that we had such a steep sell-off where some of the biggest players, biggest names in the space are actually buying. But not all that surprising if you look at the price of gold and silver. So let's talk about what those have been doing. We've been talking about we want to see precious metals find a major top, and that will lead us into a rotation. The problem is we said we need a slow and concise drop and then a consolidation, and that will allow Bitcoin to really find its footing. Well, it did quite the opposite. Silver went down 44% in 4 days. That is not good for any market. Now, it is finding a footing, and last time we saw a major top in gold, it was 8 days later that Bitcoin made its major low and actually started going higher. This time around, if you're saying that the low was made this weekend, it was about 4 or 5 days after the gold major top. So maybe history does repeat itself as silver and gold kind of find a footing and either slow down their downward spiral or consolidate at these elevated levels. You can see here silver spot price $78.72, down another 7.5% in the past 24 hours. And like I said, 44% in 4 days. It took Bitcoin 4 months to go down the same 44%. So I don't want to hear the big institutional players talking about Bitcoin volatility when silver went down 40% in 4 days and is worth what, 4, 5, 6x bigger than Bitcoin's market capitalization, and it took the same 4 months for Bitcoin to drop that 40%.
You know what's frustrating about it as well? When silver dumped the way that it has, I didn't hear a single person out there on X, mainstream media, regular Joe on the street, not that I talk to too many regular Joes, suggesting that, silver's going to zero. Silver's all a scam. F silver. No one even batted an eye. No one's really talked. No one's funding it. But if Bitcoin does those numbers, declines like you mentioned, I think we're down 40% now. We're at 40% or so off the high that we made in October. You're seeing, it feels like every other guy on my feed is saying Bitcoin's going to zero, Bitcoin's a scam, and then the newest FUD, which was just so appropriate based on this weekend's news, that Satoshi is actually Jeffrey Epstein, and so you better sell your Bitcoin. That was the newest FUD. But you don't hear any of that for silver, and it's like, it's just so frustrating. I guess, like, when Bitcoin's $1 million, maybe in 20 years from now, something like that, 30 years, do people just finally then accept that it's not going to go to zero? Or are we going to hear this the rest of our lives, Nick?
Yeah, that is very true when you say that. Bitcoin literally was worth more than silver less than a year ago, and there was nobody talking about silver going to zero. Now, after this 44% dip in 4 days, people are still convicted and saying buy the dip on silver. So we'll see what happens. I think Bitcoin just kind of has that mantra, and it's going to really be till some of those old people die off, unfortunately. All the people that called it rat poison and everything else, because with them, their mantra will die, and I think Bitcoin will be solidified in mainstream investing like we're seeing it slowly do year after year here with presidents, with nation states, with institutional finance backing it, but people still not believing. And here's the gold price. We talked about this. We said, hey, there's a magnet to the 200 and the 300 moving average. I didn't think it was going to happen in 4 days in a straight down capitulation wick because, again, that is like $12 trillion in value disappearing in 4 days. Pretty wild. Not good for any markets. Now what we could hope for is some kind of consolidation. Even if you get a relief rally in gold up here back to 5K, some kind of consolidation. And if gold wants to go down, that's fine too. But nice, slow, and steady. People get bored month after month, and those funds and profits will rotate to Bitcoin and risk on assets once again. That's what we want to see. So hopefully gold and silver kind of have their capitulation. They find their footing and go on a multi-month sideways price action movement, because when that happened back here, Bitcoin absolutely found its exact low 8 days after this top and surged. Bitcoin found its exact low right here, right after this top, and surged in this little shortened period for gold. And now we want to see another elongated sideways action out of gold, out of silver, when we got the ISM ticking up finally. We've been talking about this forever. Finally ticked up. That'll be one of our stories today, which could help risk on assets and all markets go higher as well.
Yeah, before we get to that ISM story, I want to talk a little bit about whether that move on gold, was that all just fugazi, the last week of it? And by that I mean, was it even possible to sell gold at those heady heights? Because there's a difference between market cap and what you can actually sell it for. What you really need to be looking at in most cases, and crypto's no exception, is liquidity. You could have a coin, some meme coin, that's like an enormous market cap. Because they can engineer these things, low liquidity pools, tight supplies, things like that. You can engineer very big market cap. But if you look and there's only $100,000 in liquidity available, then the market cap isn't 200 million, it's 100,000. That's all you can get out of it, really, right? How much of that move in gold towards the end there was fake? I say this too because there's now reports coming out from China that they were selling fake gold. There was firms there, gold dealers, whatever, sold like 19 billion and
16 billion.
16 billion was it? And I don't know if it was fake gold or it was gold that they didn't have ultimately, that they were just IOUs, that there's nothing there. So how much of that was fake? towards the end. I think a non-nominal amount. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw kind of the headlines and maybe a couple paragraphs on that, so I don't know all the details, so we could be wrong. But I think it was $16 billion in gold investments, meaning people put up $16 billion to get an IOU on the gold. That company or that China industry couldn't actually acquire the gold because gold prices is going up, or they just didn't use those funds to get the gold. So then when people said, "Hey, where's my gold at?" they didn't have it, and they said, "Okay, give me the money back." And apparently they don't have that either. So very interesting situation over there. 16 billion potential fraud in the gold industry. I thought that was only for crypto, but I guess not. And then yeah, that's a good point. Can you sell it there? I wonder if anybody in the United States. I know you said you were maybe going to do it, but you obviously didn't. To go to a pawn shop or jewelry and see, hey, if I go in when gold is 5,400 and I have an ounce of gold, how much are you willing to actually pay me? Are you actually going to give me anywhere near spot? What are the fees associated with that? What are the taxes associated with that? It would have been interesting to see that. Obviously, we've had a steep correction. And obviously, I already know that when you go in, you're always going to pay a premium when you try to buy versus spot, and you're always going to get a discount when you try to sell versus spot. Obviously, they have business overhead. And then you got to tack on the sales tax of your location. For me, it's like 9.5%. So that's what I know because I've done it in the past. But it would have been interesting to see how does it work when you're actually in a euphoria run there. Do the jewelry stores and the pawn shops also have euphoria, or have they been there, done that, and they're going to offer you even a steeper discount on that buyback program?
Yeah, you're not going to get the exact spot price, of course. And that, by the way, doesn't even happen on Bitcoin. Like if you go to sell your Bitcoin on Coinbase, you're not getting exact spot either. They're screwing you, and you're paying small fees and tax. Not 9% tax fee, obviously capital gains. But in any event, I do want to see gold consolidate here. Let's see silver consolidate as well. Like I don't want to. You don't want to see these just capitulation, just massive dumps. You want to see a little bit of consolidation, stabilization. Let other assets run. It's interesting because I think a lot of people maybe have forgotten about
in a bear market. And are we?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why that just pulled up.
The nomination of Kevin Warsh, I think, was that catalyst to end the gold run because he's going to come out and strengthen the dollar purportedly, right? So that's what caused that. And that may be also why Bitcoin went down this weekend too, because a strong dollar historically is not good for Bitcoin. But let's see, there's some countervailing forces there. The ISM, maybe we can get into that. But yeah, this wasn't great to see that breakdown, was it, on the chart?
No, and this is what we really didn't want to break below 80K. We also were live right here saying, hey, you really need to get back above this uptrend line because this is going to be a bearish retest and rejection, which is exactly what happened. This happened at the same time as gold was selling off hard, silver was selling off hard, and stocks were having a minor pullback. And this was the result. I will say you have potentially 5 waves down completed here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves down completed. And now you would have an ABC up and worst case scenario back into the 80s. As you can see here, we did have a stop at $82,500 to stop us out of our Bitcoin positions. We did buy that back near the lows at 75,000 and some change. I'm going to pull it up in our actual official call here so I'm not lying to you. Bought it back at $75,850 on Bitcoin. We sold Ethereum via a stop at $2,650 and bought that back at $22.46. So although the trade itself wasn't fully profitable, you did add more coins to the position due to the stop levels that we had there and the buybacks. The same kind of applies to Ethereum, as you can see here. Bought it on the first break, held it through all this sideways chop, gave away major levels at the same time, getting rejected at the moving averages, major sell-off with gold, silver, and all the other assets. We had the profit or the stop here, and then we had a quick buyback as we had oversold readings on the RSI, the most oversold it's been in a very long time, for months, all the way back to October, and the technometer getting oversold for the first time since September on Ethereum. So we'll see what happens. Optimistic. Had a stop loss in place, bought back, added some coins to the bag, and we're going to see if Thomas Lee, Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, Binance, Tron can do anything about finding a low as they are buying in at these levels.
I was encouraged to see those whales buying in. Got reports of Michael Saylor. I think he bought 75 million or so. I think we had Tom Lee buying close to 100 million in ETH. So that's all positive to see. What's your thought on my theory? My little it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek theory. Binance the ones responsible for the weekend dump so that they could buy and start to buy in at a lower price when they deploy this $1 billion.
Yeah,
Or
I don't
nay?
know. It kind of seems, I don't know. I guess it would benefit them, but it kind of seems silly that if they're sitting on $1 billion, what do they do? Sell and then they're buying their own bags back? I guess is the theory there, to kind of liquidate, wash all the leverage out of the system before they start buying and building up again, which is, you hope isn't true, but when you have that much power and that much funds, you can dictate the market. We see this on a micro scale with KOLs. KOLs get a bag, they buy a bag, they make a post, and they can really manipulate those small caps as they deem fit to grind price higher or grind price lower. So I guess why wouldn't or why couldn't one of the most powerful exchanges and players in the entire crypto market do the same for Bitcoin and Ethereum?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Obviously, we have no proof of this. It's kind of hard to say with any degree of certainty what causes a particular pump or dump. But, conspiracy theory hats, let's put them on. Binance, obviously, at the heart of what happened around 10:10, although now there's market participants out there suggesting that it was more systemic. It wasn't just Binance and the depegging of that stable coin and an internal, Oracle failing or whatever. It was more just too much leverage in the system and whatever. So, yeah, I don't know if we'll ever know exactly what happened on 10:10. I don't know if we'll ever know exactly what happened yesterday. But I do know one thing. Satoshi is not Jeffrey Epstein, ladies and gentlemen. Satoshi is not Jeffrey Epstein. If you guys sold, if anyone here sold because you bought into this absurd take and this conspiracy theory, man, I feel bad for you, but that's just Darwinism, isn't it? If you did sell. So maybe we can dig into this. I don't know if you've looked too much at the Epstein files over the weekend or what you make of the whole debacle, but this is just a bridge too far for me.
Yeah, first of all, there's 3 million documents released. Second of all, I didn't take too much of a look because there was so much fake stuff going around. Redacted stuff became unredacted, unredacted became redacted. Not just what was released by the government, but former documents that have already been out and taking those and putting a spin on them to serve your narrative. And then also a lot of fake documentation is people looking for clickbait. So once I saw how much was fake, I just tuned off. They're a good way to see if somebody's putting a video out about the Epstein file releases and what's going on, or creating a documentation. Run that through an AI prompt. Say, hey, here's a link about the Epstein files. What's true and what's false? And that AI prompt, within a minute, is going to tell you everything that's going out. There's one popular one that was going around, pretty negative towards the Republican Party and Trump with the Epstein files, in which they made 10 claims within that video, and AI promptly said that only 1 of 10 even has any validation. The other 9 are completely made up and were created based off falsified information. So it's pretty interesting on what goes mainstream, what people see, and then if you actually take the time to look at it, what's actually the reality of the situation. So couple things there. Number one, I haven't wasted too much time on it, so much fake going on. And number two, if you are taking time doing due diligence because you think it's beneficial to you and your knowledge base, run it through AI and see what's true before you get an opinion that's completely wrong.
Those are 2 great points. And what's funny about the Epstein file dump and sort of the reaction, so AI has been the cause of most of the misinformation, disinformation around it, because people have been using AI to create fake-looking emails. They look real to, someone with no critical thinking. But then you look at it for a second, you go, oh, wait, that doesn't make any sense. That was probably made by AI. And then what you do is you use AI to confirm that it was made from AI. So kind of AI on both sides of that. But this was, to me, one of the most ridiculous takes. Somehow, Jeffrey Epstein is some genius computer programmer and is, in fact, Satoshi. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Clearly not the case.
And this is the AI prompt here to answer the question. So the timeline doesn't add up. He was in jail when the coding was going on. The MIT funding claim doesn't add up. 0 evidence that any of this money went to Bitcoin development or digital currency initiative. The DCI was funded later by people like Reid Hoffman and Fred Wilson. So that's there. And then the other one is here. Then come the emails. In 2014 and again in 2018, Epstein was emailing Peter Thiel and Steve Bannon asking basic questions about crypto, regulation, taxes, and distribution. If he was Satoshi, he wouldn't be asking those questions, now would he?
Well, to the conspiratorial mind, he was doing that, Nick, as smokescreen, right?
Right.
Because he knew someone would discover those emails in the future. So yeah, the whole thing is ridiculous. I hope you didn't sell your Bitcoin on this absurd theory that Epstein is Satoshi. I don't know. I mean, just bigger picture on the Epstein stuff. My general takeaway is that Epstein, basically what he was doing, people knew there's a lot of really rich perverts out there who would love to have sex with underage women, disgusting as that is. And they knew he had them. If you want to have sex with underage women and you're a super rich dude, you go to Epstein. That's your dude. It's everyone knew it. And then Epstein would then basically whoever went and did horrible things, he would then blackmail them, essentially, right, to get whatever he wanted and trade favors or what have you. So I don't know. I don't think it's I just don't think it's some huge conspiracy. I just think it was a bunch of really wealthy perverts taking advantage of this other pervert who had access to these women. And it's a terrible thing that happened, but I don't look beyond. I don't take it for much more than that.
Do you think anybody is held responsible for Jeffrey Epstein stuff? It's kind of hard to say yes. I mean, Epstein has been killed off, and of course his girlfriend, wife, whatever, has been held accountable. But other than that, I don't know how much people have really been held accountable or put in prison, and I don't know how much really will be.
I'd love to see like Bill Gates go down. Because I think there's pretty credible evidence.
His wife divorced him because of that. I mean, she said that openly. So, I mean, I think he has the most evidence towards him. His literally ex-wife said that was a part of the reason why we got divorced was his relationships with Epstein Islands and what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. So he's an obvious perpetrator and criminal in this. But you would need a victim, I would say, to come out and say, yeah, he raped me. Once you have that, plus the emails, plus the wife corroborating everything, I mean, I think you could take him down. But is that going to happen? One of the most powerful, richest men in the world, like that's
convincing
a far
people
stretch.
He's able to convince people that cow farts are ending, climate change or creating climate change, and you should eat manufactured meat products. So I think he's very powerful if he's able to convince people of that.
Well, if you listen to Bill Gates you're letting Bill Gates dictate what you should eat. You're an idiot anyway. So, but I love to see a couple of these rich guys go down. I just don't believe there's some giant conspiracy and they're in it to. I'm seeing they were sacrificing babies and eating human flesh. It's like, no, they were just horny old dudes who getting their rocks off having sex with underage chicks because they're sick perverts. Why do we have to take it beyond that? That's bad enough as it is. So anyway, that's we'll get back to the markets, but hopefully this Epstein stuff is done.
Yeah, talking about rich dudes going down. As of January 31st, Tom Lee's Bitmine ETH portfolio now down over $5.5 billion. Pretty wild to see, but that hasn't really fazed him. Because on the dip, what do you know? Bitmine bought another 41,788 ETH, also earned another 1,000 ETH from staking rewards, valued at over $97 million. So he keeps doubling down, dollar cost averaging down, and still believes that Ethereum is the future of crypto and the future of institutional investments. What are your thoughts for Thomas Lee? Balls of steel, or you got to keep doubling down because you have the cash to spend and you're trying to save your $5.5 billion loss on your balance sheet?
I don't like these low IQ takes suggesting that he's going to get liquidated, everybody's lost money, it's a huge failure. It's like, dude, this whole enterprise, what he's doing accumulating ETH, we're like 8 or 9 months into it, not even a year into it.
Yeah, I think they started in June. So
starting in June, we're like 7 or 8 months into it. I don't know how many months, not that long. He didn't use any leverage. There's no borrowed money there. They were staking it to earn a tremendous amount of income, hundreds of millions of dollars, every month, off the staked Ethereum. And to everyone who's like, I can't believe he did, what a bad investor. It's like, dude, have you ever bought something as an investor and it didn't go up immediately and you had to wait a while for it to go up? It's called being a fucking investor. That's pretty much how the shit works. Very rarely you buy it, it's immediately going up. Often you buy it going down, you got to wait. So look, he's in the waiting mode. It's long term. There's no leverage. There's no overhead on the business. There's probably 10 employees. I don't see how you can look at this and say, oh, it's all over. He's going down, failure. Just have some patience, guys. The thing just started. It's going to be totally fine. You can ask Michael Saylor.
Yeah, he still has conviction. Michael Saylor also has conviction, buying another $66.69 million worth of Bitcoin over the weekend. Talk about getting close to being down. I think his break even now is probably somewhere around 74 or 75,000 Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is sitting at 77,000. Remember, everybody said, oh, he's going to get liquidated if we go to 72 or 75,000 again. Another FUD storm because, again, didn't buy with any leverage. Hold spot, has enough cash, they said, to weather the storm and pay out their dividends promised, and pay all their debt obligations for years, even if Bitcoin does absolutely nothing. So, again, no leverage, has 2.2 billion in cash, can pay dividends plus debt and creditors for years to come, even if Bitcoin flounders. And why do I think that's pretty safe? We think the Bitcoin bull season can still be underway and can still continue to grow here as the ISM is expanding for the first time in a very long time, 40 months to be exact. But, even if you're in a bear market, they haven't lasted 2, 3, and 4 years, which is how much capital MicroStrategy has to cover their basis.
Yeah, once again, FUD, misinformation, bunch of nonsense. And I'm seeing big accounts, like Altcoin Gordon, for example, that you'd think would know better.
Well, that's
To
what they
say,
do.
oh, he's going to get liquidated at 75K. It's like, no, that's his cost basis. That's his break even. But he's not going to get liquidated. Like, come on, man, get the terminology right. You think you understand the market if you're that many followers.
Well, and I think they do, but I think in a time when your portfolio is not making money, you're not getting paid for marketing spend, you're not getting paid for Twitter clicks or whatever, you make those posts to get those clicks, to get those views, and to keep incoming to your portfolio. So I think that's what a lot of these people do. Unfortunately, I'm seeing that more and more. A lot of these big names that were very concise, very strategic, giving alpha calls, giving TA, whether it's up or down, have just switched to clickbait, fake Epstein files. Is Epstein Satoshi ? And I guess I understand it. It gets you the views, it gets you the followers, and it gets you kind of that income from clicks on Twitter. But it isn't very beneficial to these people who I followed these guys since 2017. And they're very innovative and believing in the system and talking about making gains, true investments. And now it's kind of memes and clickbait and is this real or fake? And I don't really like that when I'm following some of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a big account on X or YouTube, the payouts you get from X are actually not that much relative to what I think a lot of these guys can make, especially when the market's good. So I don't know. I think they should stick to accurate takes and being precise with the information they're putting out there instead of being clickbaity. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's give a shout out to all the viewers. Good morning, folks. Sorry I started a little late here. I'm having a little medical issue with my eye, unfortunately, so dealing with that this morning. But hello, good morning to Martin. Good morning to Nonso. Binance is buying. Epstein is Satoshi. I know, this is wild. This is a wild time to be alive. The simulation is in full effect. The simulation is strong this weekend, folks. And good morning to Meek Chapo as well. So what other stories we got going on today?
Well, this one we've been talking about the ISM for a very long time, saying that we're no longer on a 4-year Bitcoin cycle due to the halving, but a 5-year or longer Bitcoin cycle due to ISM. It's always been about the ISM. It's always been about the liquidity for Bitcoin, and let's see if we are correct. Breaking news, we've been talking about the ISM dictates Bitcoin tops and how it has yet to enter expansion mode, suggesting a potential 5+ year crypto cycle. The US ISM manufacturing PMI just hit a 40-month high of 52.6, with the expectation at 48.5. ISM above 50 is bullish for markets and signals the start of business cycle expansion. So although this is just one portion of the ISM, the manufacturing portion, it is interesting to see that expansion is underway. A 40-month high at 52.6. We've also seen GDP breaking expectations. We have had interest rates come down a little bit, even though they stood pat in January. And seemingly all of our kind of macro expectations are slowly becoming a reality. But will Bitcoin and crypto follow suit as the data starts to fall into our favor?
Great to see the ISM expanding, no doubt. And let's get consecutive months of expansion. We need that. But we also need liquidity conditions to continue to improve. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why the market sold off this weekend is because the new incoming chair of the Fed, Kevin Warsh, has been out on record suggesting that QE is not always the right thing to do. Now, he hasn't come out and said, I'm unequivocally always against QE. And in fact, he was one of the, call it, engineers behind the massive QE that they did in 2008. He was a Fed governor at the time. So it's not black and white. but he isn't probably as dovish as maybe some of the other candidates that Trump have been considering. And so that's, I guess, the headwind now in terms of liquidity is, do we get massive stimulus in the form of QE? But we talked last week about we may not need Fed QE because we could get Treasury QE and presidential QE. Trump wants to do like 200 billion worth of mortgage-backed security purchases, and I believe he's got stimulus coming out, refunds from taxes and so on and so forth. There's a lot that can happen and hopefully does happen. So I think we need that part of the puzzle to fall into place. But I'm loving to see the ISM expansion. Let's see if we're right. A couple months from now, we'll see if we're right or wrong.
Yeah, and here's Dan's talking about PMI just ticked above 50 into economic expansion, 52.6% versus 48.5% expected. Pay attention to this data. 92.7% of people are not considering what will happen if we actually do have a roaring 90s repeat like we had in the 1990s production boom. So it'll be interesting to see. We have talked about the ISM for quite a while now. We've been following it, and it has been just literally sideways since we've been talking about it the longest time in history as well. And now the data is slowly trickling in our favor. We need to keep that momentum. We need to get into expansion. And it actually going into the high 50s would be a great start for Bitcoin. If that happens, we've got to be near all-time highs. But then the question is, do we stop in the 50s? Or do we actually expand and get into high 60s like we saw in the last cycle in 2021?
I would imagine to get into the high 60s, for it to really run, for us to feel an economic boom, we got to get interest rates lower. We got to get some money into the hands of everyday Americans, perhaps these refunds. Right now, it feels like, and this is purely anecdotal. I don't really know how everyone's thinking about the overall economy, but I don't think everyone's all juiced up and like feeling super bright and excited and yeah, I'm gonna get rich. The economy's ripping and roaring, and I think everyone's still a little bit cautious and a little worried, and jobs aren't that plentiful, and you can't buy a house still. Interest rates are too high. The prices are too high. I mean, there's still a lot of sort of underlying negativity around the economy. I think we need to somehow break out of that. Trump's sending checks to everyone certainly could help. Big refunds coming in. We got to get these interest rate cuts long term on the yield curve lower. There's a number of different pieces that need to fall into place, but I have not lost faith in 2026. I guess that's the thing, right? Like, I could have flipped bearish this weekend, and honestly, look, if we continue to dump, at some point I would have had to wave the white flag. But we're almost back at $80,000 Bitcoin. Feels like the world isn't ending. S&P is green for the day. The crash on gold and silver seems to have ended. Maybe we're consolidating now here.
Well, this is happening today here in an hour as well, so we'll see what comes of this. White House calls crypto and banks to the table. White House will meet with crypto firms and banks at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. That's in 1 hour from right now to discuss the crypto market structure bill. Talks aim to break a deadlock over how stablecoin yields should be treated. Attendees are expected to include Coinbase, Ripple, Circle, and Wall Street banking groups such as the American Bankers Association. Again, we think it is very important for this structured bill to get passed by Q1 of 2026, and that you are running out of time. You got about 58 days to make that a reality. It did pass through agricultural at a 12-11 vote. Remember, all 12 that voted yes were Republican, all 11 that voted no were Democrat. So, again, people talking about how this is bipartisan, blah, blah, blah. Clearly it's not, because the first vote barely passed, and when it got to the next level, it did fail. So let's see what happens with this. Do you think this will be a nothing burger, or do you think some positive vibes will come out of this meeting here in an hour?
Well, I will say at the outset, I predicted and suggested that we needed Trump to bring the parties together. We needed Trump to step in and literally host a meeting and host a negotiation himself, or with Scott Benson leading it, whatever, his top players leading these negotiations, because it wasn't happening otherwise. They weren't really making headway without the involvement of the White House. So this is I'm very pleased to see this progress, and it's a bit expected. I think they can come to terms. I think Trump can strong arm a deal. I think they can find ways to negotiate and agree on something. What's interesting on this, who is attending, and on that picture you see the CEO of Ripple there. Apparently Ripple's been siding with the banks more, and they're kind of anti this bill.
Of course.
Which is not surprising, by the way, because they pretty much have hated Bitcoin since the beginning.
Right, and that's why XRP is the one crypto asset that we always been talking about since 2017. We don't really want it in our portfolio. We don't really like it. We think it's the antithesis of crypto. And if you want to trade it around their November conference. Buy it before the conference, sell it in the conference pump, and leave it alone.
Yeah, I hate Ripple myself. I'm sure people have made money off it. Good for you. I'll stay away. But it'll be interesting to see which side he ends up on today, and any reports coming out on that. And then does Brian Armstrong kind of back down a bit? And also the banks, because I don't know. I just think we can't derail this bill just because of the issue around earning interest on stablecoins. Unless I'm missing something, unless that's so incredibly important for crypto as a whole, we must have it. It's I don't know, but I've never earned interest on my stablecoins. I know you can deposit money into Coinbase, and then you can earn 5% on USDC. That's cool. But I've never really earned interest on stablecoins. There's other ways to earn yield in crypto, hundreds of different ways. Do we really need that method so badly that we're willing to sacrifice the entire bill to get that one thing? Doesn't make sense to me. Meanwhile, that's the lifeblood of banking.
Right.
So it's I mean, as much as I don't like banks, look, we're weirdos. We're the 5% of Americans that have actually embraced and adopted crypto and Bitcoin. And by the way, I don't even use it in my everyday life as it is. So we're the weirdos. Now we're going to say, banks, you have to disrupt your entire way of doing business and subject yourself to this level of competition you've never had before. And could result in depositors fleeing out of the banks and elsewhere. I mean, and then risk the banks. Let's find a way to make this deal happen, Brian Armstrong and Jamie Dimon, because it doesn't make sense. Let's make it happen.
Yep, we covered a lot of news. We covered the TA on silver and gold, TA on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and some other things. I mean, let's look at Pulse Chain real quick. Past 24 hours after the big slaughter, it is break even or up to plus 3% on Hex and Inc. Break even on PLSX and Pulse Chain. And, all the liquidity there continues to follow the price of the major assets. So no surprise there. The NASDAQ is up green today, up 1% today. Not to new all-time highs, but fighting off the lows once again. And it's only about 1.5% away from going to new all-time highs again. So stocks, after a minor sell-off, catching themselves. Gold and silver, massive capitulation, but catching themselves. And Bitcoin and Ethereum, some of the same.
I was a little worried this morning about the stock market. Pre-market, it looked like futures were pretty red. And so, if the stock market opened up bigly down, we would have seen our cryptos getting crushed even more in all likelihood. Fortunately, that's not what happened. So I guess the market is more bullish on the Kevin Warsh nomination than maybe we had thought. I guess they're not as concerned about the lack of a rate cut from last week's Fed meeting. I guess they're just brushing most things off and continuing its ever march upward as the stock market does. When is crypto catching up? When's crypto catching up? I'm happy to see, by the way, AJ in the house. Good morning. Someone's buying the dip. AJ's buying the dip. Good work, my friend. BMNR at 23, at MSTR at 138, helping you. Yeah, man, look, if you got dry powder and you believe in these assets, you believe in this industry over time, and you think you're investing into blue chips, which I think you are, AJ, with BMNR and MSTR and your Bitcoin, this is an opportunity to buy the dip and get your average price lower.
Yeah, I mean, if Ethereum turns around and gets to even $5,000 again, all those assets will absolutely surge because the assumption would be that Bitcoin has to be higher for that to occur. BMNR is going to be a direct beneficiary to that, and then MSTR and Bitcoin are beneficiaries to that as well.
Yeah, they'll get back there. They're going to get back to all-time highs. I don't know if we have this chart. I don't know if I shared it with you, but Bitcoin touched some 12-year trend line. I mean, we're on these epic trend lines now, which always had resulted in an uptrend starting. But who knows? The charts have not always worked out for us in the past. So take it with a grain of salt. But I think we're on some sitting on some epic trend lines here for Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
definitely
be
make or break
surprised.
moments. I haven't seen that chart, but I've seen some other ones too, where there's like a 15-year chart that's been going on. 15 years of history tells us Bitcoin about to go parabolic, and they're utilizing business cycles for that. That goes back to our ISM trends. So, the ISM thing today is the biggest news for me for the markets, and it's really kind of going on the radar, and it's not creating direct impact right now, but it shows that the ISM is trending in the right direction, potentially breaking out of this long consolidation. And every other time ISM has had surge, well, Bitcoin followed. And every other time that ISM peaked, Bitcoin topped as well. And that hasn't even nearly been the case for the ISM chart that we've been showing you. It needs to get into the 50s to even get back to the cycle top of 2013, much rather the cycle top of 2021.
I want to make a couple of points here before we jump. One, what do you do at this moment in time? Because I think it was like, shit, I've been holding on this long, but the market's looking shit. It's clearly bearish at the moment. Should I sell now on the hope it goes lower, buy back in? Or do I just hodl, or maybe I buy the dip? So we can talk that. And then I want to talk too about kind of I've seen this now. People are claiming there's a lack of a narrative around Bitcoin. I don't know why. Maybe because gold went on a big run, Bitcoin didn't do anything. So it's like it's not a safe haven. Quantum FUD is out there. Who knows? But what's your take? Like, sell now, try and buy a dip, or it's like we held on this long.
I think if you're holding, I think you either continue to hold and you try to DCA, whether it's $5 a week, $20 a week, $100 a week. I don't know your finances, and go into money making mode. If you have other assets that have done really well, whether it's gold or silver or collectibles or Pokemon cards, maybe take some profits on those and roll it into crypto. If you're able to work harder and make some side income, side hustle, or your current job, maybe do that and roll some of that into crypto. I think you need to be in money-making mode from exterior sources because you're not making the money that you're used to making in crypto right now, and just try to survive this until we head higher. Because all the macros still point to Bitcoin's going higher. Now, does it happen in 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, 5 years? I don't know. But I think Bitcoin and Ethereum go much higher over time here. And I think gold and silver just proved, as the two largest assets in the world, they were able to do multiples in a rapid amount of time in just a few months. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are fractions of the size of those two assets, have a history of massive volatility moves to the upside. And I think before you know it, Bitcoin and Ethereum in the blink of an eye can leave you behind if you find yourself in cash trying to play cute games down here at the lows.
Well, I myself never play cute games. I'm a diehard hodler at this point. Try, like you said, make money in different ways. Maybe it's a good segue over to an announcement we made over at Pools, the launchpad that we are now working with. Their next IDO, Chimp X, has been announced. The date for the IDO itself, that should be released in the coming days. But I really like this project, Chimp X. We'll probably do a longer segment on it tomorrow because I wasn't able to do a deep dive yet. I was actually the doctor this morning, hence us being a little late to the stream. But Chimp X, strong project, 7 million FDV, good vesting, active team. Product has actual traction on it. They have like 200-some thousand users, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. Obviously Bitcoin's in the shitter, ETH's in the shitter. But what's been interesting is I have seen some runners in the trenches. So, obviously this is, anytime you're investing in this environment with Bitcoin as uncertain as it is and bearish as it is, let's be honest, you're taking a risk. But what's great about Pools, it's a refundable IDO. You don't actually have to take a lot of risk because you can invest into it. It launches. You have 24 hours to see if you want to stay invested or get a refund. And you can see how it performs. So, we'll get into ChimpX further tomorrow. I will have a deeper dive for you guys. But I wanted to just flag this for you. And Nick, have you seen some runners in the trenches? Have you been monitoring the trenches? Because I'm seeing some projects still doing well.
Yeah, there's a couple of runners that have been going on. It's hard to want to jump in due to the overall macro conditions, but there has been a couple of runners that are doing some things. Is it sustainable? Only time will tell. Like you said, ChimpX has all the numbers, has the ambassadors, has the active users, but do we have the liquidity in the crypto market to sustain a newly launched project? Only time will see. The nice thing about Pools is there is the refund model. So you are protected there. And really the only risk you're taking is A, you're locking up that investment cash until launch, which isn't that far away. And B, you do have to take a risk and buy 250 or more of the PoolX tokens as well. It's not all that much amount of money now, though, because market capitalizations across the board are so down in the crypto ecosystem. So again, that's why I can sense a little hesitation. It's like, okay, great product, great project, but do we have the liquidity in the market to support these new launches?
That's the big question. But you got to understand, too, what the bear market does to projects in terms of the token economics. Like if Chimpex were to have launched in middle of 2021, their initial market cap would have been like 8 million. Their FTB would have been 80 million. Their vesting would have been 12 months. Trust me, we were there.
Yeah.
That's how projects work because they could. And now it's like, because the market's so bad, projects basically have to give very investor-friendly deals. Now, that's not to say it's going to, automatically do a 10x, whatever, but it does give you that greater opportunity for upside should it catch a bid and we get a little bit of, tailwinds in the overall crypto markets.
I think another issue with the IDO now too is liquidity. A lot of people that have altcoins, their value of those altcoins are super low. They don't want to sell it. They've had to be selling some crypto assets in order to fund their life or other things going on in their life. So available liquidity for investment is obviously very down right now as well. I don't really have a solution for you for that. But if that's the case, I would say, hey, just follow along with these, just like we are with some of these trench runners. We're not really giving calls to buy them. We're not buying them ourselves. We don't have a lot of liquidity to do so. But we're following along. We're doing some due diligence. We're trying to take mental notes so that when liquidity comes back to the market, when our portfolio goes up again and we're ready to make moves, we have some history to go off of to try to make better educated decisions.
Yeah, nothing wrong with monitoring the market, see how things goes. Nothing wrong with jumping in and taking a risk, knowing that you have the refund option at your disposal. Maybe you can just pull up the pools chart real quick. I don't know if you have that available, but a lot of buying, a lot of activity even over this weekend. And I know obviously the chart doesn't look great if you zoom out, but it hit like a $300,000 market cap like a week ago, and then it's bounced up over I think 550 now. I'd love to see it.
I don't know why Dex Tools won't show me this. Yeah,
it's frustrating. Dex Screener
issues
maybe
here.
Yeah, get up on Dex Screener, but if you look at other launchpad, Pools is like a top 3 launchpad, by the way, in terms of activity level, users, etc. If you look at some of the competition, like a DAO Maker, for example, DAO Maker is sitting like a $10 million market cap right now. So when I was telling the DAO members and the Pools Council members and so on that my kind of conservative target for Pools come the bull run is 10 million market cap. That's not a completely unreasonable thing to say if the competition now, even in this super bearish period, is sitting at a 10 million. So good to see some activity levels. Good to see. Looks like you made a little. Did you make a little buy over there? What is it? I see it. You made a little.
No, I just dragged this up. We have Pools is up. PoolX is up to 538K FTV. The price has gone up about 40 to 42% in the face of a red overall market since the Crypto Paradise partnership that they had going on there that we announced in a live show and told you was coming. So that's good to see. Maybe some of the Surf DAO members bagged up 250 PoolX or whatever it may be in order to get these allocations for refundable IDOs and the other perks that will be coming in the future. Or if you're just taking a trade based off the Crypto Paradise announcement, you're doing pretty well with that because you would have swapped BNB for PoolX. PoolX is up 10, 20, 30, 40% since that buy, and BNB is down about 15% since that buy. So pretty good rotation if you just took a trade on it as well.
Yeah, we had a few Surf DAO members loading up on pools. You need 20,000 pools to enter that, governance council group to get like the highest level of allocations over on IDOs over there. You need 20,000 pools. So we had a few guys doing that. So it's just, look, market's bad. We know that. But, take a little bit of risk. So my best investments were made in the heart of a bear market. So, take that information, do with it what you will. Anything else before we jump off today?
That's about all. I would say just check out Crypto Paradise, all the content we're putting out. Check out the collaboration with Pools. check out the opportunity with Surf token over on Pulse Chain. I mean, $150,000 market cap. Really indicative of Pulse Chain being at all-time lows. Our liquidity is tied to all those, so that's been dragged down. But Surf keeps buying and burning itself. Surf holders keep earning more Surf. And as the market heats up, all these partnerships we have with pools, with quants, with all these other projects that are yet to launch, well, guess what? There is financial incentives for us there. And if Crypto Paradise makes money, a portion of that revenue goes towards onboarding into Pulse Chain. Surf buys and burns, Surf LP ads, and that price will be going up and to the right along with Pulse Chain here in the near future.
Got some other good news. Looks like an old project we invested in, oldie but goodie, a great project we love for a long time. Quants AI has just announced they are launching on, did it say February 5th? I just saw. I think it's February 5th, so we'll probably do a bit of a deeper dive on that one tomorrow. But super happy, yeah, February 5th. I was a little worried because they told us February, right? And then this big crash comes, and you're thinking to yourself, are they going to delay? It's already been like a year and a half or more since we invested. They did not delay. So good for them. Taking a bit of a gamble. I know they're launching at a super low market cap as well. They said we're not even do a public sale. So there isn't as much sell pressure in terms of pre-sale buyers as there otherwise might be.
The perks of launching at the lows, although liquidity might be there, hype's can be harder to get. If this is indeed a major low and you launch at the lows of the low, you get to ride the benefits of that liquidity expansion, meaning it costs a lot less. You can grab that Ethereum, put 100K into ETH right now. You're getting a lot more Ethereum now than if it was $4,000. You add that in liquidity, and as Ethereum goes up, then it's going to drag your token price up as well, and you get the benefit of already being a project that's out there, vesting underway, riding the green candles of Ethereum, riding the liquidity expansion of crypto, and those are some of the projects that we made a shit ton of money with in the last cycle. Remember, Network, Bondly, just to name a couple.
Pools
didn't do much for a couple months. The non-believers sold out. The market was kind of shit. Then when the market turned around, guess what? There's no more tokens to sell, and those things did 10x, 20x, 100x, and literally bought physical. I mean, the network pre-sale, I think I invested, I don't know, $5,000, $2,500. I don't even know what we could invest in. And literally that paid for my dad's dream car, a 1969 Mustang Mach 1, everything in my basement that I refinished here, new computer setup, pinball machines, all that was from one pre-sale. And all it takes is one pre-sale to really change your life. And, the opportunity is there. Obviously, a lot of pre-sales have been floundering, this, that, or the other. But timing could be good with quants. Real product, real users, good token economics. If this is, in fact, the exact low on Ethereum, they're going to benefit immensely from liquidity bonding of Ethereum as Ethereum grows.
Absolutely. So fingers crossed the timing works out well for those guys. By the way, I think they're launching on Solana, so they'll be paired up with Sol. But Sol's at rock bottom, $100. Do we lose the $100 floor on Solana this week? I think we did. I think it went like below $100 for a minute. I mean, this is crazy. Crazy to see Solana as low as it got.
$95.
Yeah. Wow.
And this is interesting. Solana was not one that we traded a lot, but we did have this parabolic move and said, hey, when this parabola breaks, parabolas break down to the downside aggressively. It happened on Sol, and then you had the retest, and look where you're at. It happened on gold and silver. We talked about that in our last live show on Friday or Thursday as well. Look what happened. Silver down 44% in 4 days. Gold down 21% in 4 days. Pretty crazy stuff. Let's hope everything kind of settles out. We're at major lows for Ethereum, Solana, BNB, and Bitcoin. And we can finally start to have some fun like the gold bugs did, like the silver bugs did, like the Pokemon bros have done. It's time for crypto to have some fun again.
Oh, it really is. I mean, it's been, 5 years since we made any money in altcoins? I know there's been a few months here, there, whatever, Pepe, Run, etc. But, like, a proper alt season, it's been 5 years. I'm seeing now many people suggest we'll never have an alt season. There's too many coins. It's impossible. And to that I say, you guys didn't live through 2017. You didn't live through 2021.
And really, in the past year, you've seen it. In the past year, you've seen it with the AI stocks. Traditional finance had their alt season, where AI stocks, strategic reserve companies all had their massive runs.
Yeah. The thing about alt season is, first of all, it will come. Second of all, it won't be every altcoin. That's just a fact. It won't be every single altcoin, but it will be enough of them. And then the third point is you got to remember to take profits. Don't round trip bags. If you do that, you'll be fine. So yeah, I'm staying cautiously optimistic about February. Still bullish on 2026 as a whole. I'm not flip-flopping now, guys. If you thought Crypto Amaru was going to come up on here and say, oh, well, we hit $75,000 this weekend, so it's all over, sell everything, pack it in, quit crypto. Yeah, you came to the wrong show, guys, because that's not how I roll. Still believing.
We're not changing our name from Crypto Paradise to Crypto Winter just yet.
No, not yet. Look, there could come a time when I do wave the white flag, but it's not happening this week. It's not happening just because we hit 75,000 and are now bouncing back to 80. So staying positive, staying confident, staying locked in. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll cover Chimpex in more detail tomorrow, so you guys have a great understanding of that. Grab yourself some pools tokens if you want to get involved in that pre-sale. You need not a lot of pools tokens to get like very large allocations. That's the other, by the way, that's the other great thing about the bear market. When it's the bull run, everyone's loading up on these launchpad tokens, and there's so many people. You're getting a $50 allocation, $100 allocation. You're getting peanuts. Bear market, it's like, here, sure. No, not a lot of people are investing. Have 1,000. Have 5,000. Plenty of room for you in the bear market. So, blessing and a curse, I guess, these things. Hopefully, 75,000 was low. $100 a low on Solana. 20. What do we hit on ETH? 2,200? Ridiculously
Something like
low.
that. Yeah, 2150, 2160.
So crazy, dude. We were at like $2,000 in 2020.
Yeah.
And now we're only a smidgen above. So, been a bit of an interesting journey. Hope you guys are still locked in with us. Hope you're still staying confident, staying positive.
The lows we just made were the lows of the big bull move of 2021. You know what I mean? This is where we were back in May and June of 2021 before we finally got that last little gasp up to $5,000.
Yeah, crazy to think. Luckily, I mean, for me, I don't want to rub it in anyone's faces per se, but like, if you've been in crypto for a really long time and your cost basis is like 10x lower than even now, you're kind of like laughing. Like, all right, yeah, it sucks. Like, my portfolio is off the high, but I'm not like in the poorhouse. So yeah, but I've been here for 10 years almost. Once you guys are here for 10 years, you'll also feel the same. Bitcoin, was at $1 million and crashed to 800. But if your cost base was 75,000, you're laughing. So I'll leave you guys with that. Think long term. It's all going to be fine. We'll be back tomorrow with another stream, guys. And until then,